Welcome back, everyone, to Cosmic Design. Hi, Christy.
Hey Laura, welcome back everybody. So glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited for this episode. It's all about Gate 57 and intuition. And this is just so on point and so on par, especially with my life. I feel this. So, like, how are you feeling?
I have definitely been feeling a heightened intuition for sure. There's this one group that I'm in where they'll do like a weekly thread where people can ask for readings. And you can like practice your readings. And so I responded to three of them to like just practice on strangers that I don't know. And they all were like, wow, that was really good. So that was
Yeah.
really exciting. I feel like I've tuned into something really
Yeah.
juicy.
Yeah. What I love about Gate 57 is it's like all in the spleen. So like of course me and
Mm.
my splenic and charges and like my intuitive knowing in my body have been just like alert. Like not in a bad way, but it's like, oh shit, like something's about to happen. And I'm just kind
Mhm.
of working with my intuition as I make decisions right now because I feel like especially right, as we were talking about like Saturn going into retrograde on Saturday, like that's like
Yes.
something I'm feeling that now. And it's like wild.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, because it's right now, it's in its what's called its shadow period. And what that means is that Saturn has been going through the period we're going to see it turn back on itself. So we're already starting to feel that retrograde energy a little bit. And Saturn is going to be retrograde until November 15th. All right. So we've got about, let's see, 5 months of Saturn retrograde. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move on through the episode. But yeah, I'm not surprised that you're feeling it already. Like
I
it's
had to sit
coming.
with it yesterday. I was like, I'm gonna just go lay by my pool because I can't
Hmm.
focus and like I just need to listen to what my body's telling me and just have to cleanse and like kind of figure out like what is the next move. And like
Hmm.
what I love about this gate too is it's all about sitting back and letting divine timing do its thing.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Like and
It's so
having
hard to
faith.
do.
It's so hard and like, I feel I'm gonna put feelers out there, but like I'm sitting back. I'm sitting back. I'm gonna relax and see what comes my way because like I feel like there
Hmm.
is, it's like yeah, okay, like you just let everything align as it should, but like sometimes you do have to take a little initiative for things to actually kind of manifest. So,
Yes.
so I
Well,
did
and
what I
I
needed to do,
preach
and now I'm gonna sit back.
yeah, I preach this ad nauseum when I do my weekly community readings on Facebook every Wednesday at 8:30 for those of you who want to join me there. Um, I talk a lot about manifestation being equal parts putting the idea out there and then taking the action, right? It's manifestation isn't just like dreaming it into being, it's all the things aligning to bring it into being. And you have to do things to make that happen. And then you have to detach from the outcome and let it ride. And, there's this duality of like, do things, but don't push, release, release the control over what it needs to look like and allow it to come into being, but still have your intention focused too. And so this gate being active right now is really, it sounds like it's giving us like the space to be patient with that process a little bit.
Yeah,
And the Saturn retrograde period coming up is there's going to be a lot of focus around that very energy as well.
yeah, for sure. It's wild. I'm intrigued. I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued, and I'm just like curious. So like, whatever happens, happens. May the
Hmm.
may may the odds forever work out in your favor.
Yes. I love that. That's really good.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
So I'm just looking at our charts to see where Saturn is showing up during this retrograde period. And Saturn for me is conjunct my natal Venus. So there's going to be a lots of opportunity. And it's in my 10th house, or it's actually in the 11th house for me. So this is like my relation. It's Saturn retrograde is really about your relationships in general. Um, it encourages you to reassess your long-term goals. And being in Pisces, it's focusing on melding spirituality and dreams together. But it's also people are saying pay attention to how you're achieving your aspirations and your platonic bonds and community connections and from the 11th house is community connections, right? And so this is going to be really showing up for me in a really big way. That 11th house of looking at um, how I'm showing up in the community, who I'm connecting with, who do I need to, not become attached to,
Mm-hmm.
network with, all of those things. And I'm just trying to find you. There you go. Whoop, whoop, click the wrong thing. Um, there we go. Let's see where it is for you. And so for you, Laura, it's also in your 11th house. Interesting. Um, that's very cool. So you're going to have similar, and this, I feel like this is probably part of the reason why we've been feeling so in sync over like the last year when it comes to like business is Saturn, has a lot to do with business and things like that. And it's been transiting our 11th house, like showing up and doing business together. So we've been collaborating together in
Yeah.
that way. And that's really cool. But I don't see any real aspects offhand without like studying the chart to see what else. It's not like really, you don't have anything going on in your 11th house. Um,
I don't think so. That
yeah,
doesn't sound right.
11th house, and so then your 4th house. Yeah, you're not having really any aspects to Saturn in your chart that I can see at the moment. So,
Well, you know what? That's fine. But
yeah. Right?
you
Like
know, it is
let
what
it
it
be
is.
easy.
Like, let it be chill. Like, that's totally cool. Speaking of collaborations though, we do have um
Yes.
our book collaboration. We're looking for a couple more authors. So if you're a healer or in the holistic world and you want to share your story about your healing journey or what, like, your resources and your tools, and you want to share them, you should let us know. Reach out to us. We are still looking, and yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's been a year in the making, and we have kind of felt our way forward through what it looks like to reach out and like get people. So all this week I've been really active with talking to people. Laura's been active with talking to people, and where I finally realized it's not time for excuses. It's time to make things happen.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, just being out there. And you know what? For me, summer vibes, Cancer season, Leo season are my seasons. Like, those are my
Hmm.
times to really get shit done. So, like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Here I am. Look out, world.
Yes, I am definitely feeling that energy.
Yeah.
Um, gotta let my dog out here for a second.
I'm just going to pause this really quick.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you to do that, and then I thought I could be quiet, and then
Yeah, so this is definitely a really exciting time. It's a really good time to look at your chart and see, especially your human design chart, and
Mhm.
start to look in ways where like you need to surrender, right? So it's like that's so hard to do, right? Just like sitting back and just letting things unfold as they should.
Mhm.
And when we start to create that surrender, then things start to fall into place. And this is something
Yeah.
I always say, and I say it to you, just I say it to everyone, is like success should be slow and smooth and a slow growth. When there's quick success, that could be like really a
It
lot.
fizzles out really
It
quickly.
fizzles out. Yeah, it's like it explodes quickly. Like even like anything, like relationships, like things that are fast paced, that's bad.
Mhm.
But when you're
Yeah.
like slow moving with it and like letting it kind of do its thing, like that's when things start to unfold.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
creates a little bit more of like, okay, I don't know, fun and ease it to it. So I always tell people, especially I feel like my parents, they're always like, so how's business? All this stuff. They're always just like, okay, like, are you a millionaire yet? I'm like, Mom, that's not how it works. Like, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
want it that way. It happens in small, slow steps. Like things don't just build like immediately.
Well, and there's a reason for that. In the same way a baby takes time to grow and develop, same way a business and our success takes time to grow and develop. So you have opportunity to align with the changes as they come, right? And
Hmm.
I think that's why when like that hard fast success comes, people like lose it because they haven't had time to acclimate it. It's so out of the ordinary for them that they like do a 180 and it just, it explodes everywhere. Where if you build into it slowly, you have time to grow with it, into it, and handle it responsibly and make the most of it as well.
You know what I think about when I think of this is Fire Festival.
Oh,
Do
like
you
that
remember that?
documentary that
Yeah,
they,
well, it was
yeah.
about this guy who created this festival and like blew up so quick. So
Uh-huh.
many people bought tickets and it was a shit show. And
Yeah.
that's what I think about when I think of fast, impulsive decisions, fast
Mm-hmm.
success. Like that doesn't
Hmm.
work.
Or even if you look at lottery winners,
Yeah.
more like when they study like the effects of people winning the lottery, they end up in a worse place than they started off with before they won the lottery.
Yeah.
Like, they end up becoming homeless, losing their families, addiction. You know, not every time, but like 8 out of 10 times,
Yeah.
um, their whole life falls apart, right? And it's again, it's like you have time to acclimate that. And also, side note, our society as a whole is not educated how to handle money properly and
Yep.
intelligently for a purpose. So when you get
Totally.
it all, you treat that money as if you were a poor person and you blow it all. Like,
Exactly. For
you
sure.
know. So that's like there should be like counseling and coaching for people who win the lottery, like how to manage it better.
Yeah.
That would
So
be a
let's
fun
talk
job.
about, let's get like a little bit deeper. So if you guys don't have your human design charts out, you should get them out.
Yes, you
Um,
can find the link to do so in our show notes.
yeah, in our show notes, you can, yep, lauralou.com. You can go to the get your chart and then look it up. So gate 57, which is, oh, excuse me. Actually, before we even do this, sorry, I'm going to pause this really quick. Because I just realized. All right. So if you were to look at your chart, you would see that gate 57 is in your spleen. So I personally don't have it, and I know Chrissy,
And
you
I
just
don't
said
have
you
it.
don't have it either. So I am a splenic authority, so I do feel this on a deep level, but I
Hmm.
don't have that gate. But if you do have that gate, you're probably feeling this a lot extra today. It's probably feeling like way more,
Yeah, you might could
like
even
you may be
like if you're
feeling
not
that
open to your
intuition.
intuition, you
Yeah,
might be feeling bombarded in a way.
totally. And so like in human design it's called intuition, and quantum human design is also intuition. And the gene keys is called a gentle wind. It's unease, intuition, and clarity. The astrology connected with this gate is Libra, and then the
Hmm.
biology is the spleen and lymphatic system.
Mm.
So I always tell people like during like anything that's connected with this lymphatic system, I said go get lymphatic drainage, clear that shit
Oh.
out. Like this is a good time to like work with your lymphatic system. Maybe go
Hmm.
swimming or like, oh, I'm gonna jump in my pool today actually after this. And I'm like, oh wait, actually my pool's open. Yes,
That's
I'm gonna go do it.
exciting.
I know. Oh my God, thank God. It's been a year. So yeah, so having these connections with the spleen and lymphatic system, you're probably definitely feeling that more. This is the most intuitive gate. So energy of clarity in the moment, fear of uncertainty or lack of clarity, struggle to trust self-intuition, and the fear of the future. This is an
Mm.
intuitive knowing of right timing and when to act. Following your strategy and authority helps to overcome the fear.
I love
So
that.
gate, that's so interesting, actually, now that I think about it. Thinking of
Well,
the things
right,
that I
like
just did.
yeah, because it's like that like when you're really in tune with your intuition, you know to just feel it, to just do it, right?
Yeah,
And so um like yeah, it makes sense.
yeah,
I'm being redundant.
yeah.
Um but it's interesting like they talk about like being able to overcome the fear. I feel like fear is the major block to people's intuition.
Oh, 100%.
Right. And so, like, learning how to work with that fear, um, and knowing when it's fear versus when it's not aligned. Like you and I were talking earlier, like the difference between when you're out of alignment versus when it's just coming from that place of fear. And that, really takes the ability to tune into yourself, doing some meditation,
Hmm.
like really learning yourself and your rhythms and understanding your reactions is really going to be pivotal in knowing the difference. And I think that's something that often people are not like really aware of. A lot of people are just operating from a place of fear, and as a result tend to act out of alignment, because they like if it's they when they're misaligned, they don't recognize it because it
Totally.
doesn't look like fear. And so they
Yeah,
just do it anyway, right? Because they're just living in a state of misalignment. So,
yeah.
hmm.
So the also about this energy is this is the gate of sound. So it's an intuitive ability to mix pleasant sounds and receiving auditory messages and downloads,
Ooh.
which is wild. And I was feeling that. So like it's intuitively senses people through voice.
Do you feel like this is maybe like a good gate for musicians?
Oh, 100%. I think for
Yeah.
any artist, really,
Mm.
because also like in astrology, they're saying right now is a really good time for artists to share their message about what it is they want to see in the world. Like
Ooh.
to how to create the change that they're looking for and how to create justice in your art. How can you share
Mm-hmm.
that and express that in a way that's going to come out
Yeah.
as
S-
receptive instead of like scared,
It,
instead of like that scarcity way.
it's funny you kind of bring that up. Anthony and I were talking the other day how there's this like meme around AI right now. And it's like, AI, we imagined it would be like robots cleaning our houses so we could like create art and write. And now it's taking over our art and writing and so we can clean our houses.
Totally.
And Anthony like has some really interesting theories about the life and the roles that rich people play in determining our realities. And um he was saying that like if this is how they're choosing to focus the efforts of AI on these creative aspects, we're essentially putting art, and I'm kind of going to expand on like his initial thought here. We're essentially putting artists out of work and forcing them into jobs of labor. So I am pointing this out, and anybody listening to this, I want you to stop before you use AI to create art. Remember, you're putting someone out of a job and you're forcing them into not living their truth and creating their beauty in the art that's meant for this world.
Yeah.
And it might be expensive, but go hire that graphic designer. Take the time to find a copywriter, whatever it is. Like AI is great, and yes, it can be really useful, but let's not become so dependent on it that we strip artists of their ability to maintain their place in this world, to
That
give
is
us
very
the
true.
hope and inspiration that we need so desperately.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox for the day.
No, I like it. I agree. I mean, I think I've been using it in a way that's just like, okay, like the tedious shit I don't want to do, I'll use it.
100%.
And
Yeah.
that's why I use it because I still love making art and I still like, creating
Hmm.
content. So it's like I don't want
There's
to
a
use
time
it
and a
for
place
that.
for
Yeah, there's a
it.
time and a place for sure. And also it's like how is AI going to tell you how you're feeling?
Right.
You
Well,
know,
and
like
I just see so many people being like, oh, I don't have money for a graphic artist. Let me generate AI images and, do this thing. And like, I get it. Like, there's budgets and whatever. But I think at the end of the day, we're like really doing ourselves a disservice by like feeding
totally.
into it too much,
Mhm. I
That's like the
agree.
true struggle. Like I even saw, okay, last little diatribe here, that there's an AI system for you to create music. Like someone that's like an app to make heavy metal music. So you can create a whole heavy metal album by yourself using AI and then upload it to Spotify. Now, you don't know how to play any instruments, you don't have to know how to write songs, AI does it for you, and now you've just put a band who's worked for years and years and years to perfect their craft potentially out of the ability to make money for themselves because you used AI to be lazy and not learn those things.
Yeah.
There's just like it just we got to be aware of these things.
Yeah.
And I promise that's all I have to say about that, to quote Forrest Gump.
That's yep. Oh, Forrest. All right.
Such a good
So
movie.
when gate 57 is in the low frequency, the low vibration, it's a general unease, a fear of what might happen or may come, the anxiety of it, and the constant seeking of external and logical forms of security.
Mm, yeah.
So how like again, like we're talking about that scarcity mindset or like
Mhm.
the fear of like what may happen if you take action.
Yeah, right, like, again
Like again, like what I was saying is like you need things like okay, you can sit back and relax, but you do need to take some initiation for things to actually happen.
absolutely.
And so like and
Move
you know
through
what's
your
actually
fear.
interesting? Like I was kind of in that low frequency of like the anxiety of it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Like whatever I need to do, I'm gonna fucking do it. So excuse my language, but like I have to do this. Like and now I sit
Yeah.
back. But like regardless of whatever this is in anyone's life, maybe it's personal, maybe it's professional, maybe it's, whatever.
Mhm.
just know that, and I have to say this like in a way that's like, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
You know? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
are you afraid of if you post that post? What are you afraid of if you say how you feel? What do you think is actually going to happen?
Yeah.
And then
Something to
what?
sit with and think about,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think about that every day in my life. What am I afraid of?
I meant for like our listeners, like,
Oh yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, yeah, and I'm just saying like myself too. I'm saying that to like you
Yeah,
and me and the world
totally.
and the void.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's when this energy is repressed, it's suppressing any intuitive clarity with the mind and self-doubt. So it's a silencing the intuitive pulsing.
Hmm.
So I think of that as like disassociating from it instead of like acknowledging the intuition.
Oh, I love that.
Like they're probably using their mind and they're not actually thinking of like their body and like how they're actually feeling, their authority of how they're going to make that decision.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is where with they're reactive, they act out of fear before the clarity comes in, right? Allowing the
exactly.
fear to motivate you instead of stopping, pausing, tuning in, feeling through it, and then taking action on it.
Yeah. Oh, and I love the high. So, right. So the high frequency, the high vibration of this is embracing and listening to the internal intuitive pulses as a guide to sync to natural rhythm of the world. Life becomes easier. And I love this because today when I like, I did some things, I took initiative, right? But I
Hmm.
had to, before I did all those, I went to see my energy worker, my massage therapist, and then I went and talked to my therapist. And I kind of just listened to what my body was telling me. Well, I mean, this took a couple days, but like decided what I wanted to do, and now I sit back.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that.
And then surrendering to the silence and the now, recognize that subtleties of frequency change.
Subtleties.
Let me redo that. So surrendering to the silence and the now, recognizing the subtleties of frequency changes and intuitive pulses when they come while you enjoy living in the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, that to me is like one definition of embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're so embodied in your purpose and in your joy that like everything just opens up and you just know how to move and when to pause and when to allow it in and when to push a little bit. That is like embodiment right there.
Totally.
Mm.
And
And I love
becoming,
this final
sorry, go ahead.
sentence, becoming a tuning fork for divine presence. Like that is just whoever I want to find someone who has this gate and let's bring them on. So if anybody listening has gate 57, let us know. Even if this gate isn't active by the time you get to us, let us know. I still want to talk to you. I'm really
I
curious what
know.
people's experience with this gate is because what you're doing is raising the vibration of everyone that comes within your aura
Yeah.
and finding the softness and the gentleness and allowing that to happen. That's really cool.
Shit. Holy shit, I think I messed up.
What?
Fuck. I
Did you
think we
not hit record? No, it's recording.
no, no, it's not that. It's not 57 is not the gate that we need.
What?
I kind of love, okay, so this one is gate 52, keeping still.
So that's what you had initially, and then you changed it.
I fucked up. It's so okay, now that I'm not an idiot. No, I think that everything kind of happened for a reason, but as we go back, so now
Mm-hmm.
we talked about gate 57, which I do think kind of resonates with what we're talking about. Like you said, Christy, I think that now we can talk about the real gate that's active.
And I just want to take a moment. Like one of the things that my coach from Body Mind Coaching, Laura Wick, talks about, let it be messy, right?
Yeah, right. Shit
Beauty
needs to be
comes out
messy.
of the mess.
You know what I tell people, and I've mentioned this before, I'm type A, but I'm also really crooked. Like things are
You're really
messy.
what?
Like I said, I'm super type A, but I'm a little crooked. So like I'm like things are messy, but I'm like I know what I'm doing. You know?
We'll make it through somehow.
Totally,
And you know what?
100%.
This could be some of that like Saturn retrograde period, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
Saturn's in Pisces, which is nebulous, and Saturn is not. And so we're starting to hit that that retrograde period where some things are gonna get confusing, and we're gonna, as we adjust to the retrograde period of Saturn, we're not like there's gonna be some disconnect.
Yeah.
So
All right. So gate 52 is all in human design. It's called the gate of stillness. And then in quantum human design, it's all about perspective. So
mhm.
the gene key of this is the still point. So it's all about stress, restraint, and stillness, which now I'm thinking about it. Gate 57 is my intuitive knowing that went for it. But now I'm still, okay? So like the energy of stillness and concentration, but not necessarily focus. So waiting in stillness for the right timing before taking action.
Mm.
Being able to see the bigger picture and knowing where to focus when and not get overwhelmed by all the details.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like if you're able to be still, you can step back and shift your perspective and figure out your priorities,
Yeah.
which is
And then,
also a very intuitive practice.
oh, 100%. And then, like at the low frequency, it's all about like being the victim of the collective aura of stress and fear. So it's, we got that stress and fear again, but picking up on the frantic and chaotic energies of others and disconnection from unity consciousness.
Mm.
Consciousness. And then when it's repressed, it's all about collapsing inward from the stress physically, mentally, and emotionally. So depression and apathy and feeling stuck, that happens.
Well, it makes sense, right? If you're not able, like what is depression is other than, in a small form and fashion, is like when you're unable to shift your perspective, like where you get stuck in what you're thinking and when you're feeling. So I can see where, like, if you're repressing this gate, of course it's going to lead to depression because you're not able to shift your perspective.
Yeah. So when you react to this, you're trying to escape the fear and stress through constant activity. You're projecting anger and frustration onto others and eventually burning yourself out.
Hmm.
So again, like taking this time to sit back and just let things kind of happen and then waiting for that perfect time to prance or like whatever you want to do, go for it, then yeah, that's the perfect time. And then when this is high frequency, high vibration, it's all about balance of activity and passivity. So the importance of source signature, the energy you start something will pervade its entirety.
I love that because that goes back to like what we were talking about earlier in gate
Okay, 57.
57,
Yeah.
with the manifestation of like knowing when to act and when to pause. Like this
Yeah.
gate is very similar to that type of energy. But instead of like acting intuitively, it's like pulling perspective. It's a little more mercurial in a way.
Yeah. The fear present of the beginning of the creation will infiltrate and crumble the structure eventually. So clear intentions, seed growth. So planting the seed, and the more selfless, the more power. So, and again, like, thinking about my actions or like the things I was doing personally, like this past couple days, makes sense. It tracks. Like I'm planting that seed and then I
Mhm.
just wait and I sit and I find
Mhm.
that stillness.
Yeah.
Like this like kind of brings me like bringing into that feminine energy of like stepping back and letting things do its job.
Yeah. Mhm.
Successful creations must serve more than itself first and foremost. So learning how to diversify and take in resources as needed. Everything happens at their own natural pace, often slowly.
This is so reminiscent of like what we were talking about, and but at that first part of the sentence, successful creations must serve more than itself first and foremost. Like the creation is, you start something, no, it's going to be bigger than what you envision it to be. And
Totally.
that's what allows it to be successful, is you create it with the intention to do just more than create, or to suit one purpose.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't have the energy to move and grow and adapt and shift
Yeah.
through perspective.
Yeah. And it's rooted in sustainable service to humanity. So allowing the path to unfold without fear and interrupting the process.
Hmm.
Then it comes with complete stillness. So, like the yin still point, or radiates out the stillness to others, especially regarding fear associated with time passing quickly. And so, like, really good tips right now is time for sitting back to meditate and like breathing, like good breathing exercise and meditation. This is like a really good time for it.
Well, so in craniosacral therapy, there's something called the still point. So for those of you who don't know what craniosacral therapy is, from your cranium to your sacrum, you have layers of lining that surround your brain and spinal cord. And in between those layers, you have cerebrospinal fluid that flows in between those layers. And you can actually feel the rhythm similar to you can feel like a heartbeat with the blood flowing through your veins. And a still point is when you can actually stop the movement of the craniosacral fluid through the craniosacral system. When you do
Yeah.
that, it it sends you into a theta state and healing can happen.
Yeah.
So there are ways to induce a still point on your own. One of which is to like if you get like a yoga block and put it right under your occipital ridge. So your head is a little bit above your shoulders on the ground, and you place the yoga block right at the base of your occipital ridge, like on its lowest setting. That can induce a still point
I
and
like
get,
that.
yeah. And so when you get to that place of still point, you can go into this like deeper meditation and create a place of
You know what
healing.
also I love? Have you seen those neck pillows? They're like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a curve.
Yeah, those are cool. That's not gonna induce a still point though,
No,
but those
but
are
it
really
has those
good cervical
compression points
necks.
like right around the cervical
Yeah.
spine, which really feels that compression of like releasing, which
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
think,
like
you
good
know,
acupressure
oh,
stuff.
totally. I think that's a good one for everyone just because of like we're
100%.
on our phones, we're sitting, we're texting, so it's like
Anything that can
that lump.
elongate the
Yeah,
neck. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Love that.
Mhm.
Um yeah, and so I never really talk about the lines. Like so during these transits there's usually a line that's active. And this line today is line one. So like the lines are like the profiles. So the one line is taking in
Oh,
information. And about this line one is all this theme for today. I think that changes like every day is
okay.
thinking before you speak.
Oh, that
So
makes
and
sense.
yeah, when exalted, it's the pause that is profound that leads to silence. So the
Mm.
pacification of energy that leads to stillness. And when it's the detriment way of doing this is speaking first and living with the consequence afterwards. So energy that cannot be stilled.
Interesting. And so I finally found gate 52 on my chart. I was like, "Where is this?" I don't
It's
have
in the root, and I think I do have it
I don't
actually.
have it, but I do have gate 9. So this right now my it's completing the channel. So I'm curious like what the channel is that it completes.
Let's see here. Yeah, I have gate 50. I've actually, whoa, this is wild. So I have it both in my unconscious and conscious. So it's in my unconscious. Oh, shoot. I hate when I always like, I think this
Well,
is unconscious Jupiter.
so this is funny
Yeah.
because my gate 9 is conscious Sun and unconscious Saturn. And with the Saturn retrograde, I'm just like things are firing in my brain.
Yeah. So yeah, it's in my unconscious Jupiter and then my
Oh, so we
uh
complete this channel for each other.
yeah, and then hold on one second. And then my conscious Venus. Huh. That's interesting. Kind of love
Yeah.
that for myself. It's and this kind of goes, I know this is kind of with Gate 50 said that intuitive knowing of sitting with this.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. I love that.
Yeah. And so I'm just looking up the gate 9. It's the gate for deep concentration and immersion. So it makes sense that like this gate 52 is about perspective, and to complete the channel, you need the concentration and immersion, and then you pull out. It's like the zoom in, zoom out feature on a camera almost.
Yeah.
And so when this gets activated, you have the ability to kind of go in and out.
Yeah. Well, and then
Interesting.
Jupiter is all about expansion, opportunity, and material matters. So that's in my
Mm-hmm.
unconscious Jupiter.
Yeah.
And then the Venus, it's all about art, aesthetics, values, relationships. Interesting.
Interesting.
I know. I'm like, interesting. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I just like thinking about our dynamic, like our
Yeah.
conversation earlier today. You were just like, I'm gonna do it this way. And I'm like, but you got to get deep into it, right? And I feel
I know.
like,
And then I'm like, ew. Like, I'm
yeah.
just
And that conversation, it like highlights
yeah.
these gates activating yeah, like in each
Well, and I'm
other.
just so love that you and I can just kind of like butt heads and like, and then we're fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, but no. And you're like, no, Laura. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So hopefully, guys, you kind of take this in as like with like intention, right? This is a
Mhm.
really good time for intention. Like
Yeah.
intention, intuitiveness. I feel like things are happening in a good way
Mhm.
for right
Mhm.
now.
Oh,
Things could always shift
100%.
immediately.
No, Saturn is the planet of restriction, right? But it's not restriction to go without. It's restriction to strip away the excess that's unnecessary. And so I feel like this gate of perspective being active right before Saturn goes retrograde, it's helping us gain the perspective around what it is we need to start thinking about letting go of and what we need to focus on instead. So I think this is like really appropriate energy for like, or I should say how I'm feeling lines up with this energy at this point in time. And also like if you all are curious, like how like what's it look like when you can interact with people and understand like how you can how people feed off of each other based on your human design profiles. That's kind of like why Laura and I talk about how we relate to each other, whether or not these gates are active. You can
Yeah.
do this with people in your life, and you can book a reading with Laura to help you figure it out even more
Yeah.
deeply.
And if you don't follow me on my Instagram, it's design.u.hd. You can also follow Cosmic Design Podcast, but the Design You Instagram, I literally just posted about this is like, how is it that we can coexist with it another without controlling, without forcing, and letting
Hmm.
ourselves be authentic and being successful with these relationships and building
Yeah.
from that? And like, how can we understand our energy and then understand the energy that's around us? So really creating that awareness while you're working with one another.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And so it's funny because speaking of that, like, we have this uh podcast together and Laura decided to start her own personal Design You podcast, and she didn't tell me, and I saw the first episode, so I had to like tease her. I was like, "Are you cheating on me?" But it was funny because like the days leading up to that, I had been musing doing the same thing. So I have also started my own personal podcast because I just love to talk apparently.
Yeah,
Um,
we just don't shut up.
but it's Conversations with Christy. You can find it through my YouTube channel, Reaching Better Alternatives. I just posted my first episode. So you get an opportunity to hear from us individually and as we come
Mhm.
together, and find out more of what we have to teach you and offer to you and help you shift your perspective and come into alignment with your life. I've started to realize that my gifts are helping people navigate the ups and downs of life and using tools like tarot and astrology and everything else to
Yeah.
do that, to navigate that. So that sounds like something that you need help navigating with, please feel free to reach out to
Yeah.
me. We can have a little conversation about what that can look like for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Good
And if
stuff.
you're interested in like any of the work that I do, I mean, really, like what it comes down to is like, how can we create successful, harmonic relationships? Like, why do things have to be hard?
Exactly. Oh, that's so
Like,
funny because my first podcast episode, my I talked about how
why do
my
things
mom
have
would
to be
always be
hard?
like, she'd be like, "Why do you have to make things harder than they are?"
I'm like, but is it like, it's like, why can't we have constructive conversations instead of like, no, you needed to do it this? Like, I see it all the time. I'm the biggest
Mhm.
observer in the world. I see people struggle in relationships, struggle with like, like, just making things harder than it has to be.
Yeah. I think that's like a human condition that comes from being in survival mode for so long. We're
Totally, a
used to
100%.
things being hard, so we
Yeah,
feel safe when it's hard instead of
exactly.
so that's where we got to do that nervous system regulation to feel safe without it being hard and enjoy the ease and
Yeah.
flow.
So you can always contact us. We got you. I'm like, I just want life to be fun. And
I
it
mean,
should
we
be fun,
we
you know?
all want it to be
Yeah,
fun.
like I want things to be at ease and happy. Like it doesn't have to be hard.
It doesn't have to be hard, and
Yeah,
it
I
can
think
be
that's
messy too.
yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's it for today. I think we really kind of addressed everything we needed to address. And we
Yeah, I
love you
think so.
all. If you guys love this podcast and share it with your friends, reviews are really helpful for us. They help us get in the door. They help us expand a little bit more. So please shoot a review. You can share us on your Instagrams or your socials. Send them to friends if you feel like, oh, this resonates with someone that you might know. Share it.
Mhm.
We tag us in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can again find all of our information if you book a session with us. Know that I offer free consultation. First 25 minutes is free, so I can get to know you guys. And Christy, do you also have that discovery
I
call?
do as
Okay.
well. There's a link in my link tree to schedule a discovery session as well. Um, I felt like there was more to say than that, but I guess there isn't.
And that's all we have to say about that.
Oh, final thought is the card for this podcast is that of Tippereth beauty. It's all about the sun. So stepping into your vibrancy, stepping into embracing who you are and enjoying everything that life has to offer.
Yeah,
Tune into your heart space and move
love it.
from there. Yeah.
It's good. Let's bring clarity into the world, huh? Like, let's make it happen.
Shine light on the shadows, baby.
Yep, exactly.
For
All right,
sure.
guys. We'll talk to you soon. Love and light.
Namaste, friends.